Hello. So this is going to be an update on the build I was looking at about a week ago regarding the Shield-Shatter uh, combination with the Monastery Bell. As a reminder, it's literally just the bell allows shield attack hits to count as blocking, and we're using that to consistently trigger Shield-Shatter. And Shield-Shatter is very interesting because Shield-Shatter has a lot of base damage based on quality, as well as because of the interaction with block, it doesn't actually have a cooldown. So it will trigger as quickly as we can hit it up to the tick rate cap. So that's the main interaction between the two. In terms of my direction, there's a lot of different directions people are going. Like from all around the tree, I saw berserkers, I saw occultists, a couple assassins, gladiators. I decided to go with Sabo because Shattershard is a trigger, and trigger bots will effectively double that. It's not quite double, but it improves clear and it lets us cover more area. So, along with that, got blind and bomb specialist, and I'm scaling the build in a couple different ways. So, first off, shield charge. The shield charge is our main damage. I have it linked on a level 1 with faster attacks, momentum, and rage. I'll talk about rage in a second when I talk about damage. And that's to just get as much attack speed as we can from the attack itself without uh, improving the cost, because that's the main issue right here. So we have cost at 0 thanks to these two nodes and uh, reduced reservation, and the fact that we just have it at such a low level because we don't care about the damage of the shield charge. Um, in order to scale attack speed, I did a couple different things. I'll first talk about what I originally did. I originally just went with Archon's tools and Winter Weave to give us a bunch of attack speed through Self Chill and Skitterbots. That ended up sacrificing a lot of uh, defenses because we were constantly in the face of people, and it ended up being just a little too hard to really manage. And then I went with Coiling Whisper, everyone's favorite means of getting souls, and because each soul grants 5% attack speed and gets up to 45, I put in effort to go all the way over here, get reduced duration for the hex, and then I have it linked over here to Spectral Shield Throw. Most people will link it to something automated like Bladefall of Tartarus, but because that would require a lot of finagling to get the mana cost low enough, I just decided to put it on Spectral Shield Throw, and what ends up happening is we just throw it out every so often. And because of the reduced duration through less duration, level 1 temporal chains, and hex touch, it ends up coming out every 0.74 seconds, which means we do have a little bit of a ramp up time, but for the cost of the amount of attack speed we get from that, I think it's fine. Um, that's attack speed. For damage, damage is the somewhat harder option. I ended up going with Ravenous Passion in order to get a bunch of damage because we can easily link Rage to our shield charge in order to generate Rage, and through that, and how Rage works, we get roughly 30% more attack damage from this. Granted, of course, going Berserker would allow you to scale the Rage more and get more attack damage from that, but that ends up being a little too hard on a Sabo, so we're just using that for the 30% more, which is well worth it for a helmet slot. In terms of other damage, I decided to go with Hatred, because we got a lot of Fizz, so we get Fizz and Fizz is extra, and Hatred, we get some aura scaling through that, so we get a bunch of cold. Uh, this ends up being okay. I may try switching up to a pure Fizz version because there's a lot more Fizz direct nodes over here. and that could potentially be better because resistances end up cutting our damage a lot. But it's fine for now. The chill does end up helping with clear. And then I have other things like precision right here to help with the accuracy because we need to actually hit in order for the stuff to trigger. Herald of Purity for more fizz, Skitterbots for shock, and chill on enemies, mostly single target because that's where most of our damage really is needed. Um, and then I have something like the light and meaning over here for increased cold. Um, I was gonna try and get a fizz one. The fizz one ended up being like 15 divines, and this was just one divine. So I went with the cold, and I took the 0.1% damage loss because I don't have full fizz conversion yet. I need to get a better glove fizz to cold conversion, which is fine. In terms of defenses for this, defenses are still somewhat a work in progress. I'm not fully ailment immune. I got the Ancestral Vision, Suppression Cap, Evasion, Energy Shield, split between that. Usually the stuff Sabos go because of the blind effect. Um, Nothing too crazy in terms of defenses. The only crazy one is getting this node uh, for the 15% chance to get 200 life on hit. When we have enough attack speed, that ends up being like 10 attacks per second. And so this actually ends up being quite a bit of sustain as long as it's not like a dot or something like that. Dots are the biggest issue, and right now I'm just trying to work on filling up the last 43% avoidance so that I don't have to deal with dots as much. And because of Nameless King, we are unaffected by poison, so that also helps. I have Time Class in here. Originally, I went Nameless King because it made more sense when I was using this and this ring, so like I could double up on both. I decided not to do that, even though this would probably give more damage because it was harder to cap resistances. Plus, I kind of felt like at that point it was uncontrollable amounts of speed. Like, it wasn't improving the damage enough because the actual hit wasn't high enough, and I think we were reaching a point where it just couldn't trigger fast enough with that much attack speed. So I'm gonna try to find a different method to just increase the flat amount of damage. So if anybody has any suggestions for that, that could be useful. In terms of the graphs, I have Heart of Flame right here just to have it consistently active, and then the Gray Wind Howls. This is pretty nice when it does happen. So if we do end up getting an ailment, we turn it into Fizz as extra, which is nice. A couple interesting things to note. I am getting endurance charges through deflection over here. These two nodes are super useful because we are constantly proccing on block effects. So I just have this anointed so that I have constant endurance charge generation and don't have to worry about hitting a button to have that. You could also allocate swagger to get frenzy that way. Get the mastery over here for life or mana on block. That could also work as well. And then something for people who want to go chaos direction. The staff mastery, unholy might on block. Basically gives you free fizz to chaos conversion with wither. So that's the direction if you want to go chaos, which does make a cultist a potentially very strong path. That that about covers all the main things. It ends up being fairly nice. I definitely think comparing it to Flicker is the most apt comparison, given how fast it is. The gear around me is pretty scuffed, but I'd say everything in this is below about 5 divines ish, I'd say, given I've crafted a lot of stuff. If I was to make any suggestions for the future and my future plans, because I'm not done with this build just yet, the main thing I really want to do is increase the damage directly, because I feel like the attack speed's fine, and I have a plan to get uh, ailment immunity, and that will help a bunch with survivability, and then, you know, getting more life and that kind of stuff is just kind of the main ways to not get one shot. I'm doing pretty good, at least according to the POB, but the main thing, I just need more flat damage on this, and that will probably come from switching out the Ascendancy, because while it is nice to have the time clasp, with the setup I have, this is 7.4, now it's 9.3, it's not much of a difference, and I don't think it's really necessary to have the Soul Eater stacks up so consistently, because we can just go into a map and then fucking stuff will immediately die. Like, I can go over here and just go to a pack and it'll instantly pop, because like, we don't need the stacks up until like we actually hit rares, and at that point the generation speeds up. So like, yep, there we go. We're already at 20, and the speed is kind of hard to deal with. It's a nice setup currently. I think if there's anything else I need to cover in particular, I have Convocation linked in here to keep the skitterbots on me as much as possible. My links for the Shield-Shatter are currently Awaken Control Destruction, Cold Pen, and Cruelty. The Cruelty can probably be switched out with something for like increased AoE. I don't think this main one is that important, but I just need something with more damage on it. And the only other option is Consecrated Effect, and you do not want to decrease your AoE at all. I would honestly recommend this wheel as much as possible, because AoE helps a lot with the quality of life. But yeah, no, I'll be making an update in the future, eventually, once I figure out, okay, what's a good way to really pump up the damage numbers directly on the hit aspect. But yeah, no, cool build.